高市早苗日前在国会
Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi recently made blatantly provocative remarks concerning Taiwan in the National Diet, insinuating the possibility of military intervention in the Taiwan Strait. Despite China's solemn representations and strong protest, she persists in her obstinacy and refuses to retract these statements. Such erroneous words and actions gravely violate the One China principle, flagrantly contravene the spirit of the four political documents between China and Japan and the fundamental norms of international relations, constitute a crude interference in China's internal affairs, challenge China's core interests, and infringe upon China's sovereignty. China firmly opposes and will not tolerate this. Japan must immediately rectify its position and retract these egregious remarks. Otherwise, it must bear all consequences. What are the true intentions behind Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae's renewed mention today of a so-called existential crisis? Does she seek to repeat the mistakes of militarism? Does she wish to antagonize the Chinese and Asian peoples once more? Does she intend to subvert the post-war international order? Should Japan dare to intervene militarily in the Taiwan Strait situation, it would constitute an act of aggression, and China will strike back decisively. We shall resolutely exercise our right to self-defense under the United Nations Charter and international law, steadfastly safeguarding national sovereignty and territorial integrity. We solemnly warn Japan, it must profoundly reflect upon its historical crimes, immediately cease interfering in China's internal affairs and provocative, transgressive actions, and refrain from playing with fire on the Taiwan issue. Those who play with fire will inevitably burn themselves. The Taiwan issue is the core of China's core interests and the first red line that cannot be crossed in China-US relations. How to resolve the Taiwan issue is China's own affair and does not tolerate any external interference. We urge the US to abide by the One China principle and the 3 China-US joint communiques, cease indulging and supporting Taiwan independence separatist forces, and stop undermining China-US relations and peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. The personal remarks made by the Chinese diplomat in Japan were directed at erroneous and threatening rhetoric that seeks to separate Taiwan from China's territory and advocates for military intervention in the Taiwan Strait. The Japanese side should reflect on its own erroneous statements concerning Taiwan, rather than confusing right and wrong and turning the tables. China has noted the emergence of new developments and issues in the implementation of the relevant joint statement between Thailand and Cambodia. As a friend and close neighbor of both countries, China sincerely hopes that Thailand and Cambodia will exercise restraint, move towards each other, adhere to friendly consultations, leverage existing bilateral mechanisms, and swiftly find mutually acceptable solutions to prevent escalation. China will continue to play a constructive role in de-escalating the situation through its own means. The joint statement issued by the G7 foreign ministers meeting once again disregards facts, confuses right and wrong, deliberately slanders and smears China, and constitutes a crude interference in China's internal affairs. China expresses strong dissatisfaction and resolutely opposes this. China has consistently acted with integrity and transparency on the Ukraine crisis, never supplying lethal weapons to either side of the conflict and strictly controlling dual-use items. We categorically reject the G7's attempts to shift blame and make unfounded accusations. On matters of peace and security, China is the major power with the best track record. China adheres to the path of peaceful development, steadfastly pursues a defensive national defense policy, and consistently maintains its nuclear forces at the minimum level required for national security. The G7's failure to address the nuclear proliferation risks posed by the United States' special and differential responsibility for nuclear disarmament and the trilateral security partnership between the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia, while singling out China, is a classic case of confusing right and wrong. The G7 should cease politicizing and weaponizing economic and trade issues, lest it undermine the international economic order and global supply chains. China once again urges the G7 to recognize the prevailing global trends, abandon Cold War mentality and ideological bias, cease manipulating China-related issues and interfering in China's internal affairs, and do more to foster solidarity and cooperation within the international community. We have previously responded to the relevant cases. I wish to emphasize that China is a country governed by the rule of law, and its judicial organs handle cases strictly in accordance with the law. Those who violate laws and commit crimes will be held accountable according to the law. China will issue visas to athletes from all countries, including India, to participate in competitions in China in accordance with laws and regulations. We hope that the relevant individuals will submit their application materials in a timely manner in accordance with the requirements of the Chinese embassy in India.